What's up, Best Nest World? It's your boy Mike.
It's your boy.
My name is Mike. I am one half of Mike and Kelly. Kelly is still enjoying her best life up on Beaver Island. We hope to be able to see her soon, but I am joined today by
Emma.
Emma. She's a delight.
Emma. And Potato.
Oh, and we got Potato with us. And Potato the cat. Alright, so we are here today because we haven't done Fight the Flight in a while. And while it's not quite Fight the Flight with Kelly and Mike, we've got Fight the Flight with Mike and Emma.
Woohoo!
Because we got a couple of things going on. First of all, as it says down below, because I didn't have time to make new captions, I am the COPD dude. And today is World COPD Day. Did you know that, Emma?
I probably should have, but I didn't remember.
Sadly, in my own house, I get no respect. I get no respect. But in any event, today is World COPD Day, and we're trying to draw attention to that. And also, this is the first day of our new Stay Safe plan here in Michigan, where we are once again spring ahead and fall back, I suppose. Falling back into some of our restaurant restrictions and gym restrictions and all that stuff, because we are having, as many people are throughout the country, a tremendous spike in the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus. So with all of that happening, and with the prospects of a really challenging holiday season coming up, we decided to do a little bit of self-care stuff, and we're trying to figure out what we can do. We were going to do Holo Taco Tuesday, which is a thing that we've done in the past, but had a big COPD Foundation thing yesterday, because this is not only today, cats are going wild over there in the studio adjacent. This is not only World COPD Day, but November is World COPD Month, and I just picked up a new job with the COPD Foundation, so I had some obligations there. But now we're doing Holo Taco Tuesday, except on a Wednesday. For those of you who may not be familiar with the idea of Holo Taco, you want to care to explain, Emma?
Sure. So, Holo Taco, one of the boxes here,
Ooh.
is a nail polish line created by one of my favorite YouTubers, who I introduced to my dad and Kelly, and Taco Tuesday. So we decided to do Holo Taco Tuesday, and where I paint my dad's nails with nail polish.
Kind of a non-traditional thing, but honestly, I kind of came to, when we were doing this regularly, especially early on in the pandemic, really kind of came to enjoy having some fancy nails. So that's kind of, that's just who I am, and I'm not afraid to admit it. So, so do you have a plan for the nails?
Well, I have curated a selection
I see.
here for you.
Well, I would have to say we're going to have to go with this one, because
It's
orange. You know, this is, again, COPD Awareness Month, and the official advocacy color for COPD is orange. I forgot to change my shirt. I'm still wearing my scrub top, but I have several orange t-shirts that we can wear. And then as it happens, just in the last day or so, I had the On This Day where we recollected that I didn't know what the other color for the COPD Foundation was.
It's blue.
Turns out it's blue. I always thought it was purple, but you know, color blindness strikes again. So
This one is also kind of orange.
okay, well,
if you want.
My main idea is purples and blues, because that's kind of the COPD thing.
Purple?
Did I say purple?
Yep.
Orange and blue. Orange and blue. Someday I will learn. Someday I'll learn my colors. But that's what we're going to do. And so beyond that, I don't have any other preference. Do you want to use... I have a fancy board, a glass one over on...
Oh, these ones are not for actually filing. They're for roughing up the top of your nails so that it doesn't peel off. Because I've lost my other ones, so I found those ones in the bathroom. But they make scratches, and then the base coat, which is this one, will stay in your nails longer.
So?
And much like me, you have smooth nails that don't necessarily hold on to nail polish well.
So let's get going here. We got a new setup here. So this is we haven't quite figured out, I think, all of the details. We're going to switch over to the multi-view here.
Woohoo!
You can kind of see.
Holo
Ooh.
Ghost hand.
Like I said, new camera, new setup. We're going to try something new because these are self-care tips that everybody is going to need in this pandemic. And since we're kind of looking at the top of our head now, I'm going to make the might as well just make this camera a little bit bigger since we're just kind of looking funny anyway. So
I'm thinking we do these two foil ones because they match and they're orange and blue, kind of. I guess this one is technically supposed to be champagne colored. And then I was thinking maybe we could do this one.
I like that one.
This is from the...
Is that from an older collection? It doesn't seem as sparkly.
It's from the multi-chrome.
Oh, very nice.
So the second to last one.
So these are all pretty high quality
Oh, yeah.
products. These are things that this Christine from Canada, she's very well known for her makeup and
Mostly nail polish.
Not makeup, nail polish stuff. And she ended up just doing her own deal with that. So while I am getting prepared and while Emma is diligently, here, we'll move a little closer. Can we?
It's
Can't
hard
reach
with
that far. Okay.
the...
This is, yes, John Linnell. Welcome in. We are Best Nesting. We are live with Emma. Combination of Fight to Flight and some Navigator stuff just because it's World COPD Day and just because we felt like it. We haven't done...
Oh no, potato!
Oh, Potato.
Enterprise down.
Potato has destroyed the USS Enterprise. Much like we should have named her Genesis, I suppose. She's like the Genesis planet.
I have to go in for the...
Deep cut right there for old school.
Is that when they got the B's?
No, that's when they got the A. Well, it's
Oops.
at the end of Search for Spock. They blew up the Enterprise, and then after they got back home from the whales, then they got the A.
Oh, right.
The B didn't show up until Generations.
Oh yeah, and it looks like it could be a bendy straw, and you could just be like,
It's the Excelsior.
and it sits.
So, this is, probably should have mentioned at some point, gonna be a scallop potato, John says. Yeah, she's got to watch herself. But,
JL keeps her on her toes.
yes, he does. So, usually, I am joined by my nurse practitioner spouse, Kelly, but as I mentioned, she's still up on the island. Hopefully, we can pull one of these together while we're up there. Going up to see her, we've all been very careful about isolating ourselves as much as possible and all that. Hopefully getting to see her in the next week or so. And hopefully being able... What's that?
You've been picking at your nails.
Yes, I have. And hopefully we can do some bestness while we're up there because I know everybody would really like to hear from Kelly. And she's done a fantastic work up there on the island already. It's been quite an experience from her, and quite an experience for us just hearing the stories. So,
Oh, your hands aren't really on camera right now, but it's just easier for me to do it over here.
the filing at least.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
All
we should at least do the polish training. So, but yeah, so she's a family nurse practitioner. I'm a respiratory therapist, and we both have a very significant interest in self-care and in chronic conditions like COPD, diabetes, obesity. These are things that, with the exception of COPD, these are things that we have struggled with our whole lives too. So what we want to do with this kind of programming is try to get back to helping people, again, take care of themselves during the pandemic, and just trying to get everybody living their best lives again, because these are stressful times.
They are indeed.
And that's why we're doing stuff like this, because like I said at the top of the show, it was just kind of nice to have this kind of outlet. And Emma and I have tried a couple other new things too. We've got I still need to upload more episodes of our podcast.
Oh yeah. We have like 4.
Yeah, we've been talking about Star Trek, as you can probably tell so far. We're very excited about Star Trek.
Very excited.
So we've been sharing our views on that, and what's really exciting is
Emma's hot takes.
well, it's fun to see for me as a fan and as a parent. It's fun to see the differences in, no pun intended, generations. I grew up with certain things in Star Trek, and by no means am I, one of these newer people or older people, I suppose. It's not canon. It's not this. It's not real Star Trek.
Michael Burnham isn't a real Starfleet officer.
But it's interesting to just see different takes on how different generations can communicate together to enjoy a program, basically.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the base coat, you said?
Yes.
Why is the base coat important?
Well,
you roughed up my fingernails, so why is the base coat
This
important?
one is important because it just helps the nail polish. Supposedly, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a nail scientist. It helps the nail polish stick to your fingers longer. And then, because I happen to know that nail polish does not stick very well to your nails, or my nails, the roughing up with the file just helps the base coat here get a little bit more grip on your nail so it can last even longer.
So the roughing up helps the base coat, and then the base coat holds the polish on.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
In combination with the special top coat, or I guess the regular top coat, just the clear polish, and then keeping them relatively safe.
Should be a little bit easier. As I mentioned, I am fortunate enough to have gotten a position with the COPD Foundation recently, and I get to work from home, which is kind of a benefit in the midst of a pandemic. And also allows us to do more, hopefully will allow us to do some of these other things as well, like the more podcasts and things like that. So.
Woo. Who's happened?
That was Potato again.
She's off to destroy more enterprises.
Well, she's kind of got Olive on the prowl. Olive had a successful vet visit today.
She's in good health. Strong mind. What is it?
Oh.
Good health, strong body, clear mind. That's
there
what it is.
Yes.
From
That's a deep cut right there.
microcosm.
But an appropriate one.
Macrocosm.
An appropriate one considering I saw a meme on I think it was Facebook where it was a city street that was covered in the coronavirus molecules, and it said the hero we need, and it had Captain Janeway
with her phaser rifle.
Yeah. Alright, so then this has to dry for a certain amount of time?
Just a few minutes just to let it set.
Gotcha.
I gotta take some acetone to the rim of the bottle. It's getting all clogged. Alright, so I think we'll do... Do you want to do orange as the primary?
Yeah, that's the primary
Alright.
advocacy color.
These two will be accent nails.
Perfect.
And then we'll put some of this.
Alright.
That's one of the special top coats.
So, Emma, also exploring the job market lately.
Oh yes, I applied to Sweetwater's.
Sweetwater's Donut Mill, home of legit some of the
Very good donuts.
yeah. John, we're on Facebook on the Best Nest page. We should be on YouTube as well, but we're live on the Best Nest page. I'm going to see if I can pop a link, because that's where you're chatting with me, is Matt. Oh, yeah, you're chatting with me on Facebook. So that's where we're at. We're at on the Best Nest page and on my personal page. I shared the link. So
Live from Kalamazoo. It's Wednesday night.
this is how we party on a Wednesday night in the zoo. Well, we can't go to the restaurants anymore. So, although I gotta say, I don't really miss it all that much. I mean, we get our delivery and stuff like that from time to time, but one thing that has been kind of nice in the pandemic is just learning
Cooking at home.
more cooking. Yeah, we've watched, part of the reason we want to do YouTube and all that stuff is we've learned so much from our other people, you know, our channels and all that stuff.
Binging with Babish. He's fun.
Yes. I like that other guy too, the guy that looks like Tommy.
Oh.
I know he doesn't like it when I say that, but
Josh
Weissman. Joshua Weissman.
Josh Weissman. And not how to cook that. That's a different channel.
You suck at cooking.
Yes. How to cook that is a baking channel.
So let's see if I do that, and then if I click on, just trying to get a link here for John. It's not working very well. Ah, there it is. Yeah, John, you're on the video, buddy.
Woohoo!
But we're gonna throw a link in there anyway, just
link in the description below.
like, share, and subscribe. All right. So how long do we wait on the? Oh, these you can touch. Okay. All right. So.
Well, so long as you've been waiting long enough, you can touch them.
Well, yeah. But you didn't know if we were waiting long enough, and you touched it anyway.
If I had messed it up, I could repaint it.
I see.
All right, this one here. This is one of the new metallic flake polishes.
This is from the latest.
Yes, very good, very different from a lot of the other stuff she's put out.
I'll be honest. Part of my self-care, you know, I like to take care of the family, and I like to have our traditions. So it's become something of a tradition when the new kit comes out that I pay very close attention to it and make sure, because these are, the boxes at least are special edition or
yes,
limited
they
edition.
are.
So the polishes will get replenished after a while.
Some of them.
Oh, some of the polishes are limited also?
Yes, this one is one of the limited edition ones.
Are those from the holiday last year?
No, they're from the birthday collection.
Oh.
Or the anniversary. Holo Taco first anniversary. Christine's birthday polish, which I don't feel like getting out right now, is a limited edition. I think those are the only two. Or there's 4.
So, yeah, it doesn't...
It's hard to see. Well, right now, especially since it only has one coat.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Well, I was hoping that this camera would be a little bit better. I mean, it wasn't very expensive, but it was a highly rated inexpensive camera, and it's not like it was free, so I was hoping it would be a little bit better quality, but the contrast just isn't there.
Well, maybe we can fiddle around with it.
Yeah, I think it might just need a better driver or something. It seemed to be using the default software driver, so maybe it just needs another one. Who knows?
Got any other hobbies you've been into lately?
Well, I want to get back into model building. I mean, we started a Voyager model at the beginning of the pandemic.
We did.
And a solid chunk of that, a solid chunk of it was drilling out the holes for the windows.
Oh, yeah.
And then by the time we were done with that, I ended up going back into work, so.
Because your boss doesn't understand what you do.
Well, my new one does.
Well, your old and
so
I have been drawing more lately.
Oh yeah, what's been your biggest art project, or what's one you want to talk about? Whether it's sorry about that, whether it's your favorite or one that you're most proud of, or one that you've discovered that you want to practice at. What's been your?
Well, I kind of redesigned a couple of my characters, and they're fun to draw, and then been working on a storyline with Carlos, and those characters are fun to draw. And then just looking up kind of like references, specifically like there's a thing, art bases. If you just look those up, those are pretty good references. And then you can look up facial expressions, which are fun to do. Just been kind of experimenting lately.
So they're kind of like example models or samples, and then you put your own
What? Yeah. So people
References, I should
will
say.
take screenshots from anime, or they'll draw them themselves, and then they'll post it online as like, here is a base that you can draw your own on, or use as a reference photo. And I use those as references a lot.
Cool. Have you done any writing? I know you were into that for a while.
I haven't. I want to, but I haven't.
That's something I want to get back into as well. Been doing some nonfiction writing, been doing some blog posts and things like that, but really want to get back to my story. I'm about 20 to 25% into a what I think is a pretty solid sci-fi story. Sort of, going back to sci-fi roots. If you're familiar with, shoot, I rubbed up against that.
Oh no.
Battlestar Galactica. The idea is, the Cylons come and blow everything up, and there's this one last Battlestar. Well, my story is about what happens if there's another ship that's been out of the loop, has been exploring or what have you, like the Voyager.
Effect.
And they come home to find everything all blown up. Like, how do you respond to that? And good call. How do you respond to that? What do you do next? And then just
what's the move, Catherine?
Kind of a combination of some psychological stuff, some
well, don't they have
action
to go
stuff.
Talk to aliens they're not very friendly with?
Yes, that's correct.
That's a plot point.
And so, because I'm fascinated about communication, honestly, especially being involved a lot in health communications. I'm just fascinated by propaganda and more innocuous communication, and just, how do you get the message out? How do you relate to people? How do you make that connection? So I'm trying to make that a focal point of the story too, because there's a significant misunderstanding that led to a catastrophe. The alien first contact went awry. But now these survivors of the apocalypse have to depend on these aliens to make some attempt at survival. So how do you rectify years or decades of poor communication?
Yeah.
Build bridges and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
So lots of themes that I hope to explore in the next 8,000 words, or more than that, 80,000 words, I should say.
All right, other hand. Nice. I like the idea.
Thank you. It's percolated a little bit. I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to go with some of it at the beginning, but now I do.
Nice. We got De Blob. That's been fun.
Yes, one of my all-time favorite Wii games.
Now it's on the Switch.
Found it nice and cheap for the Switch. And talk about self-care. This is a game where you basically just run around painting stuff. There's a plot and there's goals and objectives and all that stuff. It is a game after all. And as we all know, you play to win the game. But it's also very relaxing, because you make patterns and you do different colors, and the music changes as you fill in more paints, and it's a very soothing.
You don't have to be very careful about it. You can just be like,
right.
Wow, I'm going to slam myself into this building and it's going to turn purple.
In some cases, you have to be careful. You have to aim, because you don't want to hit the ink,
stuff.
or you don't want to fall in the water and lose all your coloration. But
yeah.
Generally speaking, it's just have fun, listen to some fun music, and blow some steam for half hour or so. Oops, sorry. I thought it would be easier to do it up there. I was wrong.
You were wrong, Michaelis.
It has been known to happen.
Like with the purple.
Yeah, so the story behind that.
We walked into that one.
Yeah. Last year, I have been confident for many, many years that the pinwheel that represents the COPD Foundation was orange and purple. I even bought a tie, because one of the advocacy color for alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency is purple.
Do you know where it is? I saw it the other day.
The what?
The tie.
I put it in the closet again, I think. So I bought a tie. It's purple and it's orange and it's my COPD tie.
There is some blue in there.
There is some blue, and we're having this conversation, and somebody, I very, very assertively said, it's orange and purple. Or those are the colors.
Well, I clarified because I made Llama Lava.
Ah, that's okay.
I think that was around that time.
And everybody else said, no, it's not. I'm like, what are you talking about? I bought a tie.
I bought the tie that makes me the expert.
Right. I'm the COPD dude. I know these things. And ended up using technology, going to the technology and using a color dropper app to find the color of the pinwheel. And sure enough, it was navy blue. Fortunately, as Emma said, the tie does have some blue in it, so it can still be my COPD tie. And it's mostly orange anyway. It
is a very cool tie.
I love that tie. I love Jerry Garcia ties. They're the absolute best.
They're your thing.
They are. My trademark.
Ooh. Tell the world about your Twitter with
Oh, yeah. Talking about good times for a Star Trek fan. We've been watching the latest Star Trek Discovery, of course.
Woo! I love Discovery. And this season is knocking it out of the park.
Best season so far. And as I've discovered, through talking with other fans, the crew or the cast of Discovery is very good at interacting via social media.
They're very willing.
Yeah, they're open, and of course they don't want stalkers or anything like that. But if you're constructive and helpful and all that stuff, then they're very willing to engage. And so Wilson Cruz, who plays Dr. Culber, posted something about in this era of Zoom conferences and everything else, how do you effectively communicate? Like how do you learn to look at the lens and all that kind of stuff? And he was basically saying that, it takes practice, and there are some adjuncts you can do on that. And I retweeted his tweet and said, yeah, I've also heard that. I said I totally agree, and I said I've also heard that if you get a pair of the little googly eyes and put them by your webcam, it gives you something to make eye contact with. And then he answered back, and we had an actual conversation. So it's like, wow, this is like Brush with Greatness, brush with the fandom here, getting to talk with a star from one of my favorite shows. So that was really cool.
Very cool.
Super nice guy. Had a couple of different brushes with that. Emma got hit by a LeVar Burton with a door.
He was super apologetic about it. He was like, oh my God, I didn't know there were people on the other side of this door.
That's why he should be the new host of Jeopardy. I don't care. I mean, Ken Jennings, yeah, also a really nice guy. But LeVar Burton just has that big teddy bear energy that he's just
big
such an...
T-E instead of...
Now, who wasn't he with somebody? He was the one that opened the door, but wasn't there another...
I think there was another person, but I don't know if there was another star with him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Captain Kirk liked our outfits.
Yeah, Captain Kirk actually, I know he takes a lot of crap, and from what I understand, deservedly so in a lot of cases, but I can securely say that my 45 seconds with Captain Kirk, he was a dear gentleman, very polite, very nice. And you also got career advice from Q.
Yeah, he thought my outfit was cool too.
John Delancey, who played Q, also did a voice on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. So Emma, are you missing
No.
You sure you're not missing the spot right there at the...
Oh, I can't see it.
That's why I keep trying to move my fingers so that you can... So anyway, he played a dragon called Discord, who is very much a Q-like entity.
He's chaotic.
And so Emma did a combination when we went to this convention of a Q costume and a Discord costume. And he, of course, he picked it up right away, to his credit.
Yeah.
Knew exactly what it was. And then proceeded to, as he's signing an autograph, proceeded to give Emma like a minute of career advice. Keep doing. If it's writing, if it's drawing, keep doing it. Keep practicing at it. Find what you love. It was really cool. Again, very, very nice gentleman. I have not really met too many jerk celebrities, I gotta say. I mean, I haven't met that many celebrities, but
Marina Sirtis also thought my costume was cool. Everybody thought my costume was cool.
It was cool. You and Elena, you had a great vision, and Elena was able to help you out with it. You guys executed it very well.
All right, now we'll wait for a few minutes, and then we can do...
So we'll go back to regular camera for just a minute here.
Would you like flaky or scattered as well?
I don't know. Which one do you think would look better with the...
I think they'll both look good. Flaky might show up a little more just because it's a similar cut to what you already got on.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Both are good. Scattered is my personal favorite.
So let's see. Outside of Star Trek, we met Jenna Louise Coleman.
Oh yeah, she was nice.
Doctor Who and various BBC shows. She's on, was it The Crown or the...
No, she's on Victoria.
Victoria. I knew it was a Queen show.
PBS.
Well, okay. It probably came from the BBC.
Well, probably. But here in America, it aired on PBS.
And speaking of COPD Day, I got to meet Ted Koppel. Probably doesn't mean much to you. But...
Didn't he give a speech?
Yeah, he was the keynote speaker at last year's AARC.
I paid attention for most of it, and then I fell asleep, and I felt bad.
So I actually got his autograph somewhere. I brought that home from work. I need to get a frame for it. But a few years back when we did the COPD National Action Plan at the NIH, got to meet Ted Koppel, the famed news broadcaster, newsman, and his wife, who has done a remarkable... She is someone who has COPD, and together they have done fantastic works on behalf of the COPD community, particularly when it comes to exercise and pulmonary rehabilitation and all that stuff. But as somebody who grew up with a very news-centric father before the era of 24-hour news, Ted Koppel, I told him he was like the voice of my childhood because, he was on the evening news, and then he did Nightline and, all the stuff that my dad would watch. So
that guy from News Channel 3, I don't remember his name. I think it's like Ken. The white-haired guy. Maybe it's not Ken.
Anderson Cooper?
No, News Channel 3, our local news channel. He's like, maybe he's the weatherman. I don't know.
Oh, Keith Jennings?
Yes.
Or Keith Thompson.
Jennings.
He doesn't play football, I don't know. Keith Thompson.
Him, yeah. He's just, I remember him a lot from when I was younger.
Oh, so if you're saying if you had met Keith Thompson, that would be like...
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I wasn't sure.
I didn't watch the news as much, but I remember him a lot. Because he was in like all the news previews. He was like, we're going to come at you with our live weather report.
Well, and I like the weather.
He's a weatherman.
I believe that was my first like real career aspiration. I wanted to. Well, of course, when you're real young, you want to be the astronaut or whatever. But
an octopus.
Or an octopus, yeah. That was your big goal, was to become an octopus at some point.
I want more arms.
Well, like the Spider-Man Doc Ock,
Dr.
Octopus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the first thing that I really thought I might do was go be a weatherman, because I've always been fascinated by it. I was really afraid of thunderstorms when I was a kid.
Scared.
Which I was generally told was because I lived through the Kalamazoo tornado of 1980. Don't really have a lot of...
downtown, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of memory of it, but survived it. Apparently went right across the street from our apartment. So,
wow.
I was scared. Embeds in your psyche, so...
The biggest storm I remember was when Hurricane Katrina struck, and then it caused all the weather stuff to come up through the U.S., and we were at a babysitter's house, and a tornado formed. She didn't have a basement, so we had to go to her parents' house, and like the tornado started to form while we were driving, and we were all like, this is crazy. I don't think we actually it didn't touch, but there were clouds, and she was like, these are not my children.
The biggest storm that I can remember recently was, what was that, about 5 years ago when we had the branch that went through the back of the car and we lost power.
Got all hot in here because it's the middle of summer.
That was a bad one. I ripped out some trees down the road and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. You made us go around with the camera and be like, take pictures. When there was that big old thunderclap a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I was gonna somebody's house was gonna be on fire, like for real.
Yeah, that was. I remember hearing it in my dream, and then going back to sleep, and then you were like, "Did you hear that thunder?" And I was like, "No," and you were telling me about it, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that was real?"
Oh, it's real.
So how are we looking?
That's right. All right.
All right. So now, are we on top coat now?
We're doing special. We're doing specialty top coats.
Gotcha. So let me get back to the old multi-view here.
So I'm gonna put this blue one only on the multi-chrome nail.
Okay. Why is that?
Just because it's not as sparkly as the other ones.
Gotcha.
So this is the blue flaky Holo Taco. It has a blue tinted base.
So that'll go well with the
glitter.
Now this one is actually purple, correct? Purple multi-chrome?
No, that's the blue one.
That's the blue one?
Yep.
I would...
There is a purple one.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it is kind of a navy. Okay.
I don't know. I think that one's called Blue Ain't Slick. And then this one, there is a purple one. Purple
Well, the blue is nice. It just looks purple.
It's darker. And then this
oh,
is the
okay.
purple
That
one.
definitely purple. I can see that much. Also, much love to the currently 3 of you that are enduring our...
Hey, target audience.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I'd be doing this if nobody was watching, because this is fun.
I'm having a good time.
Good family times, and these times will never come again. Of course, in 2020, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
What's your opinion on all of these people? Other hand. I'm genuinely all these people who are talking about, oh, well, we should be able to spend the holidays with our family because we might not see them again after the holidays.
Well, it's a fine line. I was reading an op-ed about that today, that kind of thing. It's a very fine line, because with any kind of with anything, but particularly with public health interventions, it's always, or really any kind of medicine in particular, especially medicine, it's always risk versus benefit. So we know that there are certain risks inherent in gathering with COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2, however you want to.
Rona for real.
So you have to balance the risks of these family gatherings with their benefit. If you have a bunch of people who may be high risk, the idea of, I guess to boil it down a little bit more simply, the idea of you're weighing, yes, this might be the last time that you would see this relative because none of us has ever guaranteed anything, or maybe they've got another condition and they're sick from that, and this could be the last celebration. You have to weigh that against potentially being the reason it's their last holiday. So that's not a decision that anybody can really make for you. And the fact of the matter is, we have all of these rules and regulations, and we say we can't have these gatherings or there'll be a fine and things like that. Cards on the table, they're not really, they're going to be really hard to enforce. It's really more of the idea of, oh, this is supposed to be taken seriously, so we do put some kind of punishment on it. But there are all these other people who are coming out there like, oh, what are they going to do? Oh, you got 3 turkeys, you're under arrest. I mean, no, of course they're not going to do that. They're not going to go door to door doing head counts, things like that. That is silly and counterproductive. But the idea that we have a Department of Health and Human Services that is explicitly tasked with keeping people safe, however you feel about the government, explicitly tasked with keeping the general well-being, the life in life, liberty, and happiness. If they're saying it's serious enough that we have to put these rules out there, then maybe you should take it seriously.
I agree. I wasn't trying to like argue that we should be able to. I've just seen quite a bit of. I hate to use the word discourse because it's kind of
more like discord.
Kind of silly to talk about public health risks as discourse, but a lot of these people are like, well, it's Christmas, it's holidays coming up. And I saw an excellent point on Tumblr today that a lot of major non-Christian holidays had to be spent at home. I believe Rosh Hashanah is how you say it.
I believe so. Might be Rosh Hashanah. Anyway.
The Jewish
high holidays, yeah. Diwali has been...
that's just happened, I think. There's a Muslim one that happens at the beginning of summer.
Is that Eid or Ramadan?
Ramadan.
It varies every year because it's more of a lunar...
I think they were talking about Ramadan being... all of these where you're supposed to spend it with people, like part of the celebration is, and for, I believe, Rosh Hashanah, you're supposed to pray, like, with at least 10 people, and they couldn't because of COVID, and so all of it's to me speaks of a lot of entitlement and lack of self-awareness.
To a degree, to complain about it, yes. And that's why, the unfortunate thing is we can't actually have discourse. You're absolutely right that we don't have that, but we should. Because, again, it kind of comes down to relative risk. If I were to say, no, you absolutely shouldn't do that, that, again, is kind of imposing, that is also a certain degree of entitlement on my part to impose that. Because let's say you live in Florida, and it's going to be 80 degrees and sunny, or whatever it is in Florida in November. I don't even know. Are we doing that? What are we doing now?
I'm putting this regular flaky on top of the blue flaky.
Let me go back to the... and if you can have your 10 people outside wearing masks, that's perfectly fine. If you, like in our case, I mean, Kelly has been relatively isolated on the island. We've been relatively isolated in our home here. Our risk is not zero, but it's low enough for me to feel safe and comfortable with doing that. There are families who, for example, live in 3 or 4 disparate geographic areas, who all have their own little circles. If you bring all of those people together and you have 15 people from different areas who also have different levels of exposure, that's pretty high risk. Should you do it? I would say no, but it's not like I'm going to say that you should be arrested for it either. I mean,
that wasn't my point.
No, I'm not saying that's your point, but that's where people are right now. They're saying we've gotten to the point where everything is either or. Either you have complete free-for-all, or everybody is like, well, you're just taking away everybody's happiness and all that stuff. We've got to get back to where we can have a gray area and at least have the conversation. And it's fascinating because people want to talk about how Corona has changed everything and everything else. It really hasn't. What this pandemic has done is revealed some of the very structural problems that we have everywhere, in politics, in healthcare, in public health, in our economy. All these places, all of these problems have been around. We've just been able to kind of paper over them for a while, and now the ceiling's caving in.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox anyway.
Well, I been trying to be more conscious of things outside of my circle, and part of that has led to me being aware.
Lean over. There you go.
Aware of specifically problems that Jewish people have with us being America being a Christian-dominated country. Be that if you're culturally Christian, actually Christian, Catholic people, no Catholicism and Protestantry are different.
Protestantism.
Are different, but they tend to be lumped together because they are kind of the same.
Because again, we don't really do nuance these days. So I mean,
but
there are different sects of Judaism as well.
Yes.
So I mean,
Yes.
we really shouldn't ever be talking about these giant monolithic.
Well, and a lot of Jewish people that I have seen online, I don't know what sect they are. That's the proper term, sect.
I believe so.
Denomination, what have you, have been talking about how, especially around Christmas sucks for Jewish people because for many.
Remember, we're not doing monoliths.
Right.
So.
Christmas sucks for a lot of Jewish people because when they're like, hey, I don't want to wear your Santa hat, all these people are like, well, it's not actually religious. It's just for the holiday. It's festive. A lot of Jewish people are told when they're like, I don't want to wear this. And they're like, well, it's not festive for me. I don't celebrate Christmas. This doesn't relate to any sort of holiday that I celebrate. And it just kind of sucks. And they're like, maybe could we make Christmas less large, I guess.
No, it's an interesting conversation because in this day and age, there's so much, Christmas obviously has religious roots, but there is so much about Christmas that is secularized because it's come from pagan traditions and civic traditions and things like that. I mean, I would never force somebody to celebrate something they didn't want to, but there is a certain amount of truth to the fact that it is not necessarily religious anymore.
Yeah,
aspects of it.
I've seen a lot of argument. Like people are like, well, as soon as you bring that up, they're like, yeah, it's kind of, but like also, it's kind of for people who are culturally Christian, who kind of maybe grew up in a Christian household but don't actually believe in God, or who just kind of there,
not necessarily like an atheist or an agnostic, but a-religious.
Yeah. But their concept of organized religion mostly relates to Christianity. And they're kind of like, yeah, and also like maybe they are rooted in paganism, but again, they were kind of either adopted. Christianity was adopted.
The context is religious.
Yeah, so a lot of the context of Christmas celebration is still maybe not deeply religious, but religious for Christians nonetheless. Yeah. So the Jewish people that I have seen online talking about this are kind of like...
Yeah, it's tricky. It's another example of where we've got to be able to not only talk to each other, but we've got to be able to listen. We've got to be able to understand a little bit more, and we can't just be always so defensive and feel like we're under attack if somebody questions what we're doing or how we're doing it.
I think about that. I spent a lot of time in media critical circles, or at least on my Tumblr experiences, people who are critical of media. Specifically children's media. A lot of these people talk about children's cartoons, such as Steven Universe. Earlier we talked a little bit about My Little Pony, The Owl House, which just came out on Disney. They're talking about these cartoons and how not all of them are great, or even not. Some of them are fine, but they have aspects of them that are super yikes. Like the story is fine, but maybe stereotypes of let's say black people or gay people or trans or non-binary people in these shows is problematic. And then all these other people, these like who are like their whole identity is attached to being a fan of this show. And they come in and they're like, well, am I a bad person for liking the show? And it's like, if you can't look at it critically, I mean, kinda. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I just want to give a shout out to Elena, who was also joined in, and also mentioning that, as we covered, I don't know how long she's been watching, but she mentions that Christmas has become a consumer holiday as well, which absolutely.
Also, I have a online friend who is practicing Muslim, and I had mentioned the possibility of me sending her Christmas presents just because for me, Christmas is a holiday everybody celebrates, everybody in my circle. And I was reading a post online who was like, not everybody celebrates Christmas. And I was like, oh crap. And I was like, hey, my bad. I'm sorry for if I was like ignoring your religion. And she was like, oh no, it's cool. We do celebrate Christmas. So I didn't feel upset. But that was on me to be more conscious of myself.
But to your point about media, and that's something that I've struggled with a lot too, just because, for example, and it's not even just TV, but, Michael Jackson, kind of cringy sometimes, has some issues, historically, alleged issues, but makes some really good music. So am I a bad person for liking his music? Or going back into televised media, you look at, Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek is 55 years old now. The world has changed a lot in 55 years-ish.
Yes.
You go back to, certainly if you go back to the original series, some of those are hard to watch. But even you go back to The Next Generation, which was in the 90s, which was supposedly when we were first starting to get woke or whatever. And you look at, everybody always points to that one from the first season, that Code of Honor, where they go to the planet that is all African stereotypes. That's horrible. There are questionable depictions of non-binary folks. That's where, again, the context kind of becomes important, because in the 60s, in the 90s, and even 50 years from now we might look back in the 2020s, the social mores have changed. We weren't necessarily ready for interracial kisses or non-heterosexual kissing, like in Deep Space Nine. We weren't necessarily ready for those interpretations, and they were done kind of ham-fistedly. So does that make them bad?
For me personally, we can look at the context of the time, but we can also look at this thing and say, the way this was handled was bad.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
For me specifically, that one scene in Star Trek 6,
yeah,
that was handled poorly. It's not a good look. Evil Kira from Deep Space Nine, handled poorly. We can add the context, but at the end of the day, we can also judge these things by modern standards, and I think some of these things should be judged by modern standards. I, as somebody who lives in the right now, cannot watch the majority of the original series because it makes me uncomfortable. There are a lot of aspects of it that make me uncomfortable.
And someone like me, who I'm not necessarily uncomfortable with it, but I recognize where other people are, or could be, are, will be, whatever. And I can also see that, I can see why, and I can understand that, and I can support that. And I think that's one of the most important things. Remember when we watched that documentary about Deep Space Nine?
Yes. And they were talking about how they wanted to make
the creators have come out and said, we wanted to do better. We know that, or there are cases where maybe we didn't know better and we should have. I think that speaks to what you're talking about. Is you've got to be able to look back and reflect. Whether you created a thing or whether you enjoy a thing, you've got to be able to reflect on where, yes, maybe it's a product of its time, but
it might be bad.
Yeah.
Well, and then that also there's a couple of episodes of Star Trek, I believe the original series specifically, that are banned in other countries. Like, I think the Nazi one is banned in Germany, and probably a couple other countries negatively affected by Nazis.
Germany's been very strict about imagery.
As they should be.
Yeah, which is appropriate. And that is kind of an issue. Well, that's actually an interesting issue. That's something I struggle with because one of my favorite episodes of Voyager is the one where the Hirogen are all the Nazis.
Yep.
And I think it's a really cool episode. It's got good action. It's got good acting, all that stuff. But why do we have to have... Why it's almost like it's being romanticized. Why did it have to be Nazis? Yeah. Because there does come a point where it is kind of romanticized. And it seems like almost... Let's say, no, the original series, Voyager, I think they did an episode or two in Enterprise. It's almost like fetishized, that you've got to do a Nazi episode. And it's like, I would like to think that we still remember that they were bad, although some days I kind of wonder how much of that we've forgotten. But it's just, why do we have to, we get the point, we know that they're bad guys. Why can't we just have other bad guys? Why couldn't they have been Klingons? It was a holodeck. We can do whatever we want. Why couldn't they just be the Hirogen? Or, I guess because then it's not a holodeck episode, but it just seems like there are better ways to go about it.
Just a moment. We have a visitor.
So Elena brings up another very valid point. And something I struggle with as well. She says, I have issues punishing the past, change the now. So, and this is where, and I'm not saying that you're arguing for this or that Elena argues for it, but this is where the idea of we shouldn't, and again, I know there's greater context. I'm not saying that this is the thing, but what should we do with historical statues of people like in the Confederacy or like the old Saddam Hussein statue they used to have in Iraq? Do we leave those up as a reminder? Do we put them in a museum? Do we take them down and bury them? What do we do? And the reason I bring that up is, again, not to defend that because there's a whole bunch of other context with the Confederate statues in particular.
Oh, yes.
But it's similar with TV shows. Like, well, let's go back to the Code of Honor episode, which is probably one of the more egregious ones. Do we ban that? Do we not watch it? Or do we use it as an object lesson of what not to do?
I know...
And I'm asking because I don't know the right answer.
Because of the way it is, I'm going to use Disney as an example here. Some of their older stuff, specifically, I believe, the short film, Song of the South.
I don't think
which is... Short film? It's... I don't know if it's a full movie, but I think it's shorter than what.
But yeah, when Disney Plus came out, that was a thing.
Incredibly racist, and I don't think they ended up putting it on Disney Plus.
They were, the last I knew, well, I can't remember which way it went. They were either not going to put it on, or they were going to put it on with a disclaimer, and then they ended up doing the other thing. But I can't remember which.
Some of their, Dumbo has it, I think.
Some of the stuff does have
Lady and the Tramp, warning. I think. They have... Warner Brothers also has done this, where they're like, this was wrong then. It should not have been made. And it is wrong now. But we are leaving it as an important reminder that these actions happened. And even though they were wrong, it is important for us to acknowledge them. And to sort of admit our mistake. We don't believe these things now, and we shouldn't have at the time. And I think that's kind of sort of a thing. Well, we kind of had a similar conversation. I read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn in my senior year of high school. And if you don't know, that book has the N-word everywhere. It's in there like 200 times. I think the exact is somewhere in like the 250s, maybe.
It's a lot.
And one of my teachers was like, well, it's okay to talk about it and use this word. I am not going to use it. Because it's in historical context. I disagree. Especially since this was a white teacher talking to about half POC classroom. It was just very strange, and I don't think she was reading the room very well. And a lot of these teachers, not all, but a lot of these teachers are kind of like, well, we can use the N-word in historical context. And what we can write it, and we should do that. That was the thing. My teacher told us that we, when talking about this book, should use the N-word. And a lot of students were kind of like, I don't know, that makes me uncomfortable. That's kind of weird. Why are you advocating for this? And I just, the point is, I think it's important to acknowledge history. It's important because acknowledging it is how we kind of remember it. And not to say we should glorify it or be like, yeah, these were okay at the time because everybody believed that. And, you know, kind of your mom says to you, well, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you follow them? If your friends all say the N-word, should you say the N-word? Probably not. So I think it is, in terms of the statues, maybe the best place for them, or for some of them, maybe not all of them, is to put them in a museum that says, these were bad people. America did not teach that properly. And we have statues glorifying them for wanting to keep slavery around. But they are not good people. They were not good people. And we should not have had these statues up. Especially since a lot of the statues kind of popped up in the 50s and 60s, I believe. In
it was
Jim Crow era. As a means to sort of say, like, not even subtly, but just non-verbally, I would say, to black people that, particularly a lot of white people in the South, will never see them as equals. And while it is important to acknowledge that, we must condemn these people for being racist and for wanting slaves. And I think the solution is to acknowledge but condemn.
Okay. And I think that translates well into a lot of the media too. So that kind of pulling that back full circle. And we've got to understand context. We've got to be able to judge critically. And we've got to be able to have difficult but crucial conversations.
Well, again, that kind of Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling is a transphobe. It is confirmed. That makes her a terrible person. As far as I'm concerned. As far as a lot of people are concerned, that makes her a bad person. I know she has done some work for charity. I don't know all of them, but I know she has done some work for charity. But I think at the end of the day, her word, especially in the UK, holds a lot of power because she is rich and she's famous, but most importantly, she's rich. She has a lot of money. And when she, a pop culture icon, for better or for worse, is saying, well, I don't think trans people should exist because I don't believe in them. What does that sound like to you? I don't think coronavirus exists because I don't believe in it. I personally don't get to go up to you and say, I believe you are a woman, you are a woman, you are not a man to me. I can't say that. I'm not you. I have no voice in who you are. Aspects of my opinion and what I think of you may help change what you think you are. But at the end of the day, I can't dictate to you who you are. Politicians, religious leaders, people who have no business talking about it, don't get to say to trans people and non-binary people that they don't exist. You can't say that. Whatever science bullshit you may have to... Sorry.
wind it down just a touch.
My bad. Whatever science crap you have to back you up, to back up your... You don't get to tell somebody who they are. And therefore, when we have these laws, or these people advocating for laws, to force trans people into situations where they're uncomfortable, or even where they might get hurt, that reflects poorly on you. And that makes you a bad person. And then there are all these people who are saying, well, just because J.K. Rowling is a bad person doesn't mean I can't like Harry Potter. It doesn't mean you can't like Harry Potter. You can like Harry Potter. But you have to acknowledge that it is written by a bad person.
Well, and there are some other stereotypes and things
like
that.
Oh, yes. Not even going into...
We could do a whole can of worms on that. So, but definitely we want to encourage important discussions like this. So
it's time to put your taco on.
Oh, all right. So we got a little heavy, and we'll throw out to Jeannie Nelson there. It's good to. I mean, you're passionate. I appreciate that one. That's kind of stuff that we've always encouraged. So I appreciate your passion, and you're not wrong in a lot of this stuff. You know, and part of self-care and part of stress management and things like that is getting all these things. You know, again, having these important discussions about how do we contextualize media. Whether it's fictional media, whether it's health communications, how do we put it in context to have these important discussions? You know, we talked about. I think I started this off by saying I was fascinated by communication. So, how do we have these discussions with folks?
But I think it's also important to listen to the voices of those most affected by.
Oh, without a doubt.
Such media. We should listen to Black people on how they should be represented in the media. We should listen to Muslims on how their religion should be represented in media. We should listen to Jewish people on how their history and their experiences and they as themselves as a whole, as a are they a race of people?
That's where it gets a little bit complicated sometimes because there are some people who are what you might call ethnically Jewish, I believe. And then there are folks who are, you know, the more, I guess, traditional religious. It's something that I'm probably not qualified to speak much on, but I do know that there is a little bit of a gray area.
So the point is Jewish ethnic features, how those, particularly a lot of bad stereotypes of Jewish people have the comically large and crooked nose, sort of messy hair, a lot of things that make them quote unquote bad.
Imperfect.
In media, they are presented as bad.
Right.
Is the point there. I think it is important to listen to groups. And if that offends you, like if somebody's saying, hey, maybe I shouldn't be presented as bad just because I'm different from you, offends you, maybe you should educate yourself.
Just reevaluate some stuff. So Elena, first she says, you go, Emma. And then she says, yes, you can be genetically Jewish as well. So there is and I think that's where some of the idea of the Semite as an anti-Semitic, I think that comes from some of the ethnic stuff. I believe, bringing it really full circle, Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner, Mr. Spock and Captain Kirk, respectively, would be, I believe they'd be considered genetically or ethnically Jewish. They were, I don't know if I'm saying it 100% correctly, Ashkenazi Jewish. Helena says genetically as well as religiously or culturally, so confirmed.
And there we have
it. On a later topic, this was the top coat.
Yes.
And this is
the final
glossy
seal.
Or
this is the regular one, the glossy taco.
So, Do you have? Let's see what we can do with the lighting here. I don't know if there's. I was kind of hoping the black background might make it, but I don't think the contrast works as well. I'm trying to get.
Nope.
Oh wait, there's some sparkle. There we go. If we get the angles right, so these are all very sparkly.
I do like
To try and get some kind of shining in the jars too.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's cool. So yeah, these are. So these are the fancy Holo Taco nails.
And now
And
we're
we're back.
vibing. On a lighter note, I do enjoy Star Trek. I do enjoy Star Trek to sometimes turn my brain off, and I enjoy talking about it critically as well. I like to think.
So if you like those takes, join us for Star Trek Discovered on your favorite podcast host right now, and coming soon to YouTube.
Woohoo!
Hopefully next week we'll have the template and all that stuff.
I gotta get Kelly to send me the code at the right time.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll figure that out. Well, we can at least work on that. Hopefully next week when we see her, we'll get that figured out.
Oh
so.
yeah.
But yeah, we if you like more of this kind of discussion, join us for Star Trek, and who knows what else we're going to get into over the next few weeks, months, years, all that stuff. So.
Excuse me.
However, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Hopefully, you at least had a little bit of fun, maybe learned a thing or two. We're going to try and get back to doing this on a fairly regular basis. We're going to get Kelly back involved again. She's finally getting her feet wet just in time for flu shot season and COVID surge and all that stuff. So she's been working her tail off up there. But we should be able to do some Zoom conferencing before too long and be able to get her back going with that. So look for some updates. We want to start posting again some stuff to Best Nest. Look for us all over the place. And that's that.
I look forward to be a returning guest.
Absolutely.
If you'll have me back.
Absolutely. So, like I said, it's important to get those part of communicating, part of learning, part of self-care, part of all this stuff is learning how to have crucial conversations. Even, if you don't 100% agree with somebody, again, it's not that black and white thing where just because I disagree, I'm not attacking you necessarily. We've got to have that conversation. We just need to learn from each other. But we're actually 7:15. So we had a good one today. So thank you very much, everybody, for spending part of your Wednesday with us.
Taco Wednesday.
And hopefully you like the nails. Let's see.
I'll have to post a picture later.
Yeah, they get kind of sparkly with the main camera too, so that works out pretty well. And hopefully you'll come back and join us next time. We'll try to give a little bit more advance notice next time, but
maybe we'll come back next week.
Probably not next week since Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Well, we might be able to have Kelly on. We'll see. Keep an eye out on our Facebook page, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.